Good morning, everyone. It's Karen Whooley. Welcome to the Morning Hook. And today I'm going to be talking about the book that I keep going back to. And before we get started, I would just want to remind everybody, whether you're watching live or if you're watching after the fact, make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and be sure to hit the bell to be reminded about when I go live or when I drop a video. So let's talk about books here for a second. I am very partial to vintage books. My grandmother gave me a bunch of books, and back in the 70s. Good morning, Linda. I just saw Linda pop in. Good morning. Um, my grandmother gave me a bunch of books when she was teaching me to crochet. Several of them are in a file cabinet where I don't pull them out very much because they're more vintage patterns. But there's one book that she gave me back. I want to say it was 1975. I learned to crochet in 74, 1975. And it's this book. If you've been following me for a while, you may have seen this book before. It's the Columbia Minerva Art of Crochet by Pauline Chatterton. And this book, I mean, it's been through the ringer with me. I ended up having to put a spiral binding on it because the original perfect bind was falling apart. The pages were coming out of the book. So I had it spiral bound so I could continue to use it. I also had them put a clear cover and a black cover on the back just to protect the covers. But I'm going to move this plastic so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. You can find it on Amazon. I don't remember what the pricing is right now. It is a vintage book, so it's probably more on the expensive side. But what I love about this book is that it is a vintage stitch dictionary. Basically, it was published, well, maybe it was after 75. Let me see. No, it was published it's in Roman numerals, so I have to think about this for a second. It was published in 74. It was published in 74. So I must have got it around 74, 75. It was a newer book back then. But what I want to show you is it's got vintage stitches. I mean, it shows you all the basics, single, double, triple, half double, all the things. And then it goes into a lot of what you can do with basic stitches. I love this book. It's written in vintage terms, so sometimes you have to, there's no charts. 75 is your grad year. So you're 10 years ahead of me. I was 85. So there you go, Charlene. Good morning. Anyway, so this book, one of the things about this book that makes me laugh is this is before blocking really was a thing. And if you look at some of these pictures, you can see like this one right here. It needs to be blocked because you can see the curve at the bottom and the sides aren't totally straight. So it kind of makes me laugh because nowadays we have to block everything before we photograph it, especially swatches. But what I love about this, and if you were to page through this book, I'm trying to find a couple patterns here. If you were to page through this book, you'd go, oh yeah, Karen used that, and Karen used that in the pattern, and Karen used that in the pattern. But there's one that I want to show you that you guys probably recognize because I love it. It's one of my favorite patterns. I've modified it over the years to do different things. Well, actually, both of these. This leaf pattern and this chevron pattern. I have modified both of those patterns to work for different things. This has been on the bottom of a shawl. I have a pattern coming out later this year that this is going to be a part of. This has been edgings for several things. Shawls, it's been edgings for clothing, it's been edgings for a lot of things. I just changed the repeats. I changed the type of stitches. A lot of times I'll take triple crochets and make them double crochets. It's just, this is book. I mean, every time I get stuck with something and I need a stitch, even if I don't use exactly what's here. This book always, I mean, from the time I started designing, this book has been my go-to to help stimulate um, ideas for patterns. But the way it's broken out though, it's got stitch patterns, it's got shells, it's got all sorts of things here. But it also does filet crochet, and it also does specialty stitches like loop stitches and the fake fur stitches. You've got a lot of open work stitches. It just goes on and on. And it was written in a way that it actually had a project in here for a blanket. I think I've already passed that section. But then it's got a whole bunch of, they call them motifs. They're basically granny squares of sorts, and other kinds of squares. But it's got a whole bunch of vintage granny squares. So if you're looking for vintage patterns for granny squares, this is great. And it also has a lot of, thread pictures in here, and other types of squares. I mean, there's so many different things. Here's more of a traditional, it's very Italian. I don't know if you can see that, the way it's done. It's basically when you do around with chains and then you're working over the chains with single crochet, and that is a very Italian thing to do. So my grandmother loved that. I mean, there are so many granny squares in here, I can't even begin to tell you. They even have, like, here's another project, patchwork rug. You can tell the era because the color pictures are in those golds and browns. Here's more squares out here. I mean, just crazy amount of squares in different motifs that aren't even granny squares. And here's what I was talking about with a lot of thread. Here's a lot of thread. So thread work was big back then too. And then I want to get past these motifs. Oh, here's some interesting squares though. You don't see people using squares like this anymore in patterns. It's interesting to me. I have a bedspread that my grandmother made in the 1920s, I should say. So it's almost 100 years old. In 2029, the bedspread will be 100 years that she completed it. And it is made with these gorgeous thread squares. Now I was just looking to see, Carlene was saying, okay. I don't know why that happens, Carlene, with the chats. It's interesting how it just doesn't work that way. I'm seeing everybody's chat, so I'm not sure what's going on YouTube. But other things that it does for motifs too. Oh, I was talking about my grandmother's blanket. It's a square. They're squares that are made out of thread that are so intricate you could call them doilies on their own. So people don't do that anymore. But they also have all these little mini motifs in here that you could use for blankets, as filler pieces and things like that. And then they have the circulars in here. This book has so much. So once you get past the motifs, I'm trying to get past the motifs. They have flowers and they have leaves and they have, the motif section is crazy with the flowers and the circles and all sorts of things. Okay, yeah, like here's a pillow. You can see again the 70s there with the colors, but using flowers and motifs to make cool little things. Okay, now, here's leaves, but I want to get past all this stuff. Oh, here we go. This is where I was looking for. Now it's got a whole section on edgings. And this is where a lot of times I will go to look for a specific inspiration for an edging. Here's, you want to see the 1970s? This is the 1970s. That is a sweater that was crocheted in single crochet, it looks like, and then edgings added to it. But this is kind of another place where you can look, and there's so many different edgings that some of them are very basic, little basic edgings, but there's some here that they spark some interest, and you hear some that you can do some fun things with. So there's all sorts of edgings in here, but then there's a whole section. Let me see if I can find it. There's a section on hairpin lace. That's the next page. So if you're interested in hairpin lace, this is a great book to get started with. Okay. There are so many different things in here, but this is, this book is so inspiring, even though most of the pictures are black and white. It is just interesting. And there's also even in here things like I didn't show it to you, but there's Tunisian crochet in here. They call it Afghan stitches. There's also broomstick lace. I was trying to see if I could find the broomstick lace in here. Page 64. Let me. So here's your, they only do basic Tunisian. There's only 3 Tunisian stitches here. These 3 are Tunisian. But then I'm trying to find the broomstick lace. I saw it before I got on. But anyway, with broomstick lace, it gives you some basic patterns in here. So if you're looking for something that's maybe not something you guys would use all the time. This is something that I use all the time as a designer. But if you're looking for some inspiration, I highly recommend this book. Like I said, it's a vintage book. It was published in 1974. I highly recommend going there and on, looking on Amazon, looking on eBay if you want a copy of this book. Columbia and Minerva is no longer around. And I have several books that my grandmother got me because back then it was very, very popular, very popular company. But this book, even the cover yarn doily, I'm going to call it a yarn doily because that's really basically what it is. It's just a medallion that's gorgeous. It's done in a gradient, but back then we didn't have gradients like we have now. So a lot of times designers would do gradients by, just changing colors and weaving in ends. Yes, Petal and Pearl does have several gorgeous patterns, very clear instructions. And if I remember correctly, it's something Picos. There's a website out there. So one of my students several years ago introduced me to a website that has edging patterns that I use a lot too. So, and if I can find it, I will post it. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. I do know that they haven't updated it in a while. At least last year I was looking for something there, and it's not there. And I want to say it's something Picos. I have to look it up. I don't have it right now in front of me. But anyway, I wanted to share that book with you because it's been the source of inspiration almost my entire design career. It's been a fun one. I think of my nonna every time I pull this one out. And, thank you, Carlene. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate it. But I think about my nonna every time I pull out, but this book has been such a source of inspiration. Even though some of these patterns are very, very basic, I can take parts of those and use them for transitions. I can use them for, here we go. Here's broomstick lace. I knew I would find it. There's my broomstick lace. It even has step outs on how to do broomstick lace. Hello from a new subscriber, freehandly made. Is that Australian crochet? AU crochet? I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for following along. Thanks for being a new subscriber. Anyway, I was talking about this vintage book that you can get. I'm going to see if I can find some links. I'll put them in the description below if I can find some links for them. I know I did find it on Amazon. Maybe I can find it again on Amazon. Oh, actually, I just thought about something. I have a, um, I'm looking here right now, so hang on one second. I have a storefront for, um, I can't find my links right now. Where is my links? There it is. I have an Amazon storefront where I do have recommended books, and I think I did put this on here. So if it's there, I will. Nope, I did not put it there. Okay, never mind. Okay, so but I will put it there because I know you can get it on Amazon. Like I said, I don't know what the pricing is. So I apologize in advance if it's really expensive because I know a lot of people go and um a lot of people go to Amazon and they get these vintage books and then they try some of my leaflets from Leisure Arts are out there for like $150 and they're not worth that much. This book, when it was published, there's a price on it. It was $3.95. You can't get this book. I mean, a book this size. I mean, as a self-publisher, you can't print a book this size for $3.95. This is probably like a $15 to $25 book nowadays. But they're selling them for $150. Leaflets that are like less than 20 pages. So I mean, you might be able to find it at a used bookstore or something like that. But this is my favorite book out there. I mean, like I said, my grandmother gave it to me when I was learning to crochet, so it's got some emotional attached to it. But this is the book I reach out for again and again and again. It's just AU stands for autism. Okay, I I don't have anyone in my family with autism, so I don't know a whole lot about it. So I apologize for that. Um, Honestly, it is a really cool book. The only thing about this book, I will tell you, I don't know if you were here for when I was talking about it earlier. There are no stitch charts, none. And it's written in vintage terminology. And sometimes you have to sit. I've gotten used to it because I've had this book for so long. And then I learned to crochet back in the 70s. So that is an issue. Um, but the fact that even though some of the abbreviations are not what we use today for abbreviations as the industry standard. And so it's interesting. It's interesting if you are a new crocheter, if you're watching this and you are a brand new crocheter, it's going to take some time to read these patterns and figure out what they're telling you. But once you get used to how the book is written, it's very easy. So anyway, this is the book, Columbia Minerva, The Art of Crochet by Pauline Chatterton. It's got some patterns in there. You can see they're dated, but it's my favorite. I talk this book up to everyone that I can, because if you can find a copy of this, it will inspire, if nothing else. Like I said, I a lot of times I'll just page through this and I'll see something that inspires a pattern for me, or a combination of stitches that I can take and modify and take triple crochets, make them doubles. And like those leaves, I believe those leaves that I showed you earlier are all triples in the actual pattern. There it is. And I change them all to doubles. No, they are doubles. That's the one that is doubles. It's this one that uses triples that I don't use triples in, for sure. When I use it as an edging. I haven't used it for, I'm trying to think. Oh, I did use it for my Ripple crochet shawl. If you look up Ripple, just plain Ripple, I did it in Malabrigo. I did use the triples in that to make that shawl. I think that's just the edging, though. I can't remember. Anyway, yes. So anyway, that is the book that I keep coming back to. So does anybody have a book? I mean, those of you who, I know a lot of you probably aren't designers, but do you have a crochet book out there that you come back to, whether it's a stitch dictionary or it's a book written by somebody else. It doesn't have to be one of mine. I know another stitch dictionary that I go back to a lot is Robin Chichula's book, which is Crochet Stitches, the Visual Encyclopedia. I have it over there. I have a bookcase with all my books over there. That's another one that I go back to a lot. A lot of patterns by Margaret Hubert are some of my favorite. But what do you guys like to do? I'm glad to hear. I'll hear this from a lot of people. Crochet is literally my therapy. Yes, it's actually mine too. I understand. It is the most calming thing when I'm frustrated or I'm mad, or I mean, I know there's other things that go on out there, but for me, when I'm angry, if I pick up a hook and yarn, and just even if I'm just making chains, it's the most literally calming thing for me. So anybody else have a book they want to share? A design, maybe it's a pattern book that somebody did that you go back to time and again. I know Linda's here. Carlene, do you guys have? Well, Carlene mentioned where is it? Petal and Pearl. I had to go back and look. Petal and Pearl. But she does a lot of their patterns too. So anybody else have something? Okay. You just need crochet. Yes, me too. I understand. I need crochet. Me too. Totally off topic. Rowing zones me out too. Yes, I could see where that would do that for you too. Knitting does it for me too. Sometimes knitting, if I as a knitter, I mean, I crochet is my passion. Knitting is kind of the thing I do when I need to get away from crochet for a little bit. Sometimes I have a little green book from my aunt. Oh yes, the little ones. The ones that were about this big, right, Linda? That I might have one over there. I have another book that, well, I have several books that were my grandmother had given to my mom, and then my mom gave them to me. They were from like who was that? Bantam books and Crescent books back in the day when those were big ones. They are like, I can't pull them out because there's stuff stacked on top of them, but one's called The Complete Book of Handcrafts. That sometimes is, I pull that out and just page and just getting not just ideas, but sometimes you just need to look at something other than crochet. When you're a designer, sometimes it's hard to get yourself out of your own head. Does that make sense? And sometimes I will pull out a book that has all sorts of different crafts. And by looking at something different can trigger, okay, wait a minute. I know where I'm going wrong now, or I know where, oh yes. Yes, Busilla. Yes, the tabletop patterns. I have patterns from Leisure Arts back in the day from oh, now I can't think of her name. Christofferson. Is it Patricia Christofferson who did doilies and tablecloths too? That she's amazing. Any of those thread books can get me out of my brain. Haven't made anything from it. Yeah. It took my grandmother a solid year to make her bedspread. Yes, and other crafts, knitting. Yes, it has knitting and tatting. Yes, okay. But the bedspread my grandmother made, she started it in 1928 when she left Italy to come to the United States, and finished it in May of 1929, just after she landed in Oakland, where she came to marry my grandfather. So if you have solid time and don't do anything else, I mean, she was on a ship. So I mean, literally that's what she was doing, making this bedspread. But yeah, if I went to go make a bedspread, I'd probably do what she did and do it in motifs, because you make motifs and you feel like you're accomplishing something. Although the edging is probably 9 to 12 inches long. I don't have it in front of me. 9-12 inches long. And that's all one piece. So I don't know how long that took her to do a queen size bedspread. But yeah, I would do it in motifs. My grandfather's her husband's sister made them a filet crochet bedspread. And it's interesting because I just recently got in touch with my cousins. They're my grandmother's nephews who still live in her house in Italy. And if you're interested in going to Italy in 2028, I'm hoping to go to their house because their house is the house that my grandmother grew up in. But I mentioned to one of them that I had her bedspread and their mother's bedspread. And they were so excited because they said, yeah, everybody in the family has one. So yeah, yes, Patricia. Yes, thank you, Carlene. I knew it was Christofferson, Patricia. There you go. Yeah, I love her doilies. I mean, I have books and books and books of hers that I have never done a single doily in them, and she's got a bedspread too, I think, out there somewhere. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off because we're getting close to my 30-minute max limit here. But does anybody else have anything they want to share before I go? Any other books? I am so excited that you guys came for this and lots of chatting today. So for those of you watching after the fact, make sure you like and subscribe and share with me in the comments any books you go back to over and over and over again. Make sure you hit the bell to learn when I go live or when I drop a new video. There's going to be some new videos coming, hopefully in the next few weeks. I'm getting ready to teach at the Crochet Guild of America's Crochet Space, right? Is that Chain Space Retreat? Can't talk today. In fact, I've been working on a presentation for that. So it'll probably be after I get back from Memphis, Tennessee, later this month that I'll drop a new self-paced video. But in the meantime, I'll be live here every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. That's our new time, 8 a.m. Pacific. So I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Thanks for being here, Freehandly Made. I appreciate that you're here. And I'm glad you had fun, Carlene. It was fun. It's fun looking at old patterns sometimes too and talking about the vintage stuff. So that's where my heart is. You'll know with the Italian lace and all the laces I do, that's kind of what I do. So thanks for being here, everybody. I will see you tomorrow with Whip Wednesday. So if you're planning to come, make sure you bring your whips and tell me what you're working on. I know I can't see them, but at least you can tell me about them. So I will talk to you later. Bye, y'all, and have a great, great Tuesday.